So the purpose of our in-camera session is to update members of council on a police investigation involving the City of Hamilton employee. Last Tuesday, June the 18th, the city learned and subsequently confirmed an act of fraud within the Finance and Corporate Services Department. Our initial review would suggest that we are dealing with $1,058,235.20 over a 9-year period. The city has taken immediate and swift action, including bringing in the Hamilton Police Services Major Fraud Unit, who have commenced a police investigation, and the individual at the center of this investigation has been terminated with cause. The city has also retained an independent forensic accountant to investigate this matter. The city is taking every necessary step to get to the bottom of what has occurred, and we are fully cooperating with the police investigation. The city does have an applicable insurance policy, and a claim is presently being discussed with our insurer. We are hopeful we will be able to recoup a significant portion of the loss. We will be reviewing all our payment policies and procedures in order to ensure we have taken every precaution to limit any such action from occurring again. That's the end of the formal statement.
Make them understand where you're coming from.
So the fraud itself is related to cash payments, but again, through the police investigation and through the work of the forensic accountants, they'll confirm the actual form of the fraud and how the fraud was perpetrated. But again, the fraud is related to the receipt of cash payments that ultimately were not deposited against the account holders.
So how did it go on for so long without it being detected by the auditors as a failure in procedure?
So in terms of payments, internal audit has reviewed our cash handling as well as our methods of receiving payments. There have been some audits back in 2006. Staff have implemented all of the action items. One is still proceeding as a result of that audit. Again, based on the outcome of the forensic accountant, we will, through that report, we expect if there are any shortcomings in our measures and controls, that will come out of that report.
So I'm kind of surprised that nobody within your department or any the facility tipped off the authorities of the potential fraud. Is that a concern?
So when the fraud, when there are signs of potential mismanagement of funds, there were conversations between city departments. Those conversations led to some preliminary investigations, which ultimately led to our actions to request a formal criminal investigation, as well as to request a forensic accounting of the area. So again, what led to the discovery was in fact discussions across departments, across managers, as it relates to our cash handling.
So this dates back much farther than June 18th. You guys have approximate time when discussions began?
Initial discussions began on June the 7th of 2000.
June 7th?
Of 2013.
Oh, okay, so this wasn't something that's been going on for months, it was 2 weeks ago.
Right. There's been a series of actions taken by staff over the last few weeks to undertake an initial investigation that helped identify the risk that led to our request for Hamilton Police Services, and to initiate a criminal investigation, as well as to call an external forensic accountant to review our processes.
When were the police called in?
The staff requested a formal criminal investigation on June the 21st.
Sorry, Mike, what was the total amount of money again?
We expect the total amount of money to amount to $1,058,235.20.
Over 9 years.
Over a 9-year period.
And was it the same amount of money disappearing every year? Was it?
The amount of money would vary year over year.
So how much per time? How much money was going missing each time? What was the range?
So again, the amount of funds that relate to the fraud and theft would vary from time to time, but again, that will be determined through the work of the forensic accountant.
So as somebody who's filed a Freedom of Information request with the city, each time we ask for financial, it takes a lot of time for that financial information to be found. Is this going to result in the city maybe looking at electronic financial record keeping or something that's more efficient?
So some of the preliminary investigation is based on our financial systems, and through a review of our financial systems, we've been able to reconcile to that amount of $1,058,235.20. So again, based on our existing financial systems, we've been able to confirm that amount.
This one to Chris Murray. You just recently had the Public Works situation. You have this now. Members of the public are going to be asking what's going on at the City of Hamilton. Are our tax dollars safe? What assurance can you give them that these incidents are isolated?
Well, the fact of the matter is that we do have an auditing function. That auditing function does look at all processes that the city is responsible for. So it is scheduled to do work every year, and that work is completed by Ann Pacarac, and reports are filed, as you well know. You know, this is an incident that's been presented to us, as Mike has pointed out just recently. Again, without prejudicing the forensic accounting work that's going to be taking place and the work that the police are going to, we will understand specifically where the gap was in our processes. There are a number of checks and balances that are in place within our finance department to guard against these kinds of events. However, in this particular instance, this one has, as we pointed out, has just appeared to us. It obviously creates great concern for us. In one breath, we are glad we caught it. Obviously, we wish we had caught it much sooner. But the matter is that we are dealing with it right now, and we'll know through the audit that's going to take place what other measures need to be taken to close up any gaps that exist. So we don't enjoy the fact that we're here having to explain what's going on, but nonetheless, it is our job to take action as quickly as we can when we do discover these events, and to report to you everything that we can so that you're clear on where we're at and where we're going with it.
Has the city hired a forensic accountant?
The city has hired John Douglas. John Douglas is a well-known forensic accountant. He's been engaged by the city in the past in various matters. Mr. Douglas has performed numerous forensic accounting engagements for the RCMP, OPP, municipal police forces, government agencies, and many other organizations and individuals. I have been in contact with Mr. Douglas as early as today, and we have shared information as early as today as it relates to the claim.
Any idea how long it will take?
We will be meeting with Mr. Douglas next week and the week after to assess the potential timing for a forensic report, delivery of a forensic report. But again, it is an extended period of time, 9 years, and that will in part impact the length of time required for the forensic accountant.
Is the employee male or female?
Again, at this time, I think we want to protect the integrity of the investigation, and we recognize the fact it's a
How does the
personnel.
gender protect the integrity of the investigation?
So again, it relates to a department, my department, Finance and Corporate Services, in an effort to try to protect the individual at this time and reflect the fact that it is a personnel matter. Preference would be that, again, we maintain the integrity of the investigation, and we remain, until such time as charges are laid, we keep that information confidential.
How many other people are under investigation, not criminally, but internally? Because I would assume that there would be controls in place that one employee would not have that type of access to money without supervision or other people supposed to be verifying the transactions.
We've requested Hamilton Police Services to initiate that criminal investigation. Again, we suspect it relates only to one individual. The individual has admitted sole responsibility. So the criminal investigation, I expect, will focus on that one individual. Nonetheless, the interviews related to that criminal investigation will include others, as well as the forensic accounting review and analysis will include others.
Okay, so what procedures were in place to verify how many other people were involved in terms of supervision, verification of these accounts, or was this a case where only one person would know how much was coming in and only one person would be supervising that, the person doing it?
So there are a number of procedures in place as it relates to our cash handling. In fact, we went through a review. The city went through a review of our cash handling procedures in 2012. There are well-documented best practices as it relates to cash handling procedures, and at this time we would expect that if there are any improvements that can be made, those improvements opportunities will come out of the forensic accountant's work, and we will clearly review the outcome of that report and consider any additional amendments to it.
So you mentioned 2012 specifically, a cash handling review in 2012. Did that result in tighter controls of cash handling that resulted in an increase in revenue in that area, which produced the red flag?
No, the review was not specific just to cash handling, but in terms of our receivables, in terms of how we receive payments. The review itself was just to document our policies and procedures and to identify any opportunities to improve in terms of our how we handle our payments. Again, the result of that review in no way led to the discovery of the fraud.
So when did the fraud end? Or when do you believe that it ended?
We expect the fraud ended sometime just prior to the termination of the employee.
Okay, rental income. Anything else you can say about what kind of rental income?
So I want to just be clear, it's not just rental income, it was cash payments in general. We have identified approximately 51 vendors that those cash payments would have been received from, and it would have been a variety of vendors, not just related to rental income, but any cash payments that any vendor would have made to the city.
So if it's 51 vendors, then they're paying invoices or whatever to the city, and their accounts are clear, because I'm not here, I would assume that they weren't. They would have been complaining that they had invoices coming from the city outstanding. So how does an invoice get cleared and the money not end up in the city's account?
So we expect through the work of the forensic audit, as well as the work of Hamilton Police Services, they'll confirm the form of the fraud. The employee in question was misapplying funds in an effort to try to protect from flags alerting supervisors that accounts were in fact in arrears. So again, there was some concerted effort to try to protect some of the procedures and measures we have in place from raising any alarms. But again, through the work of the forensic accountant and Hamilton Police Services, we expect that they'll confirm the form of fraud.
So you're saying you're expecting that this person charged more money in person, but only accounted for the money that was actually owed?
So could I respectfully suggest, I think we're getting into the detailed investigation, and I mean, unless Mike has anything new to offer, I think we're getting into a repetitive state of questions.
So future
I would suggest that we end the press conference now.
I just
future updates, will we be getting public updates? Will you be updating whenever you update council and the public?
Yeah, I think absolutely, as we proceed through this process and new information becomes available with respect to the police investigation, we'll be sharing that at the appropriate time.
Do we have the name of the investigator with the police?
I'm not sure if we're...
It's being investigated by the Major Fraud Unit of Hamilton Police Services.
Did you have a confession? Have they given you a sense of how long it might take?
Again, that would have to come from Hamilton Police Services as to how the investigation will be supported and the potential timing. We expect that the forensic accountant's report will assist Hamilton Police Services in their work.